All right, so Israel's new coalition government led by Prime Minister Naftali Bennett is already bombing Gaza no less than 48 hours after they have taken power. And so I'm going to read you some of the details in this good piece by Jake Johnson from Common Dreams. But I mean, understand this general idea that I talked about in my last video where I was covering this guy in the transition of power. Regardless of who is in power of the state of Israel, the ongoing apartheid policies, the ethnic cleansing, the expansion of illegal settlements into the West Bank, the occupation of the world's largest open-air prison in Gaza, these things stay the same. They are a constant. They are a feature of the government of Israel, regardless who is in power, regardless who is sitting at the top. So those are the things that are continuing. And these are just some of the details as of this latest bombing campaign. And this is still an ongoing situation. I'm sure in the next coming days that there will be more bombing campaigns, but this is just what we know so far. So just hours after far-right marchers chanted "Death to Arabs" during demonstrations in the streets of Jerusalem, Israeli warplanes bombarded the occupied Gaza Strip early Wednesday morning in the first series of airstrikes launched by the new government of Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, a former IDF officer who once boasted that he has, quote, killed a lot of Arabs. While initial reports indicated that no Palestinians were killed in the new bombing campaign, the air raid intensified fears of a fresh wave of violence by the Israeli government just weeks after a tenuous ceasefire agreement paused Israel's deadly 11-day assault on Gaza last month, which killed more than 240 people. The Israeli military characterized the latest airstrikes as a retaliation for incendiary balloons. Released into Israel from the Gaza Strip, the balloons reportedly caused at least 10 fires in Israel. Quote, homemade fire balloons versus U.S. bombs. Is there a better example of the disproportionate use of force? Asked Ariel Gold, national co-director of the anti-war organization Code Pink. And Abu Malik, whom the Associated Press identified as one of the young men launching the balloons, said the incendiary objects were released into Israel in response to a far-right government-sanctioned march through Jerusalem, where demonstrators rallied alongside several members of the Israeli Knesset and chanted "Death to Arabs." So this is the clip that they are actually talking about, where these Israelis were marching through the streets chanting "Death to Arabs." So I'll play this real quick. Right, so these people are protected by IDF security forces or Israeli security police. They're protected by them. They are reinforced by them. I've seen multiple clips, and this is not anything new or surprising, but even multiple clips recently where you literally catch far-right Israelis who are coordinating with the police and literally telling them face-to-face, I want you to go and arrest this person, and then the Israeli security force or officer goes and immediately arrests them without cause in many cases. But this is the terrorism that Palestinians are facing on a seemingly day-to-day basis now. I mean, these marches, I can't find equivalent parallels other than what I know in my experience here in the United States. I mean, I live in Atlanta, and I know, smack down in the middle of downtown Atlanta, and I know that if white nationalists with the protection of U.S. police were marching down our streets with tiki torches and chanting, death to Jews, or if they were, doing an anti-black march, then they would not be met with cheers in the streets. Okay, these are far-right nationalists who support a genocide, who support an ethnic cleansing of a different group of people. So these people are not out there peacefully, right? They are wielding state violence in coordination with the police, like I just said, and their intentions are not pure, to say the least. And here's what Jamal Bowman had to say. He says, "This is a genocidal chant. Let's call it what it is. I represent many within the Jewish community who disavow and condemn this hateful language, so why does only a small portion of our Congress?" So he's absolutely right. I mean, every time some Iranian a government official or a Palestinian, a Hamas leader says death to Jews, there is all this outrage, rightfully so, you could say. But then when it's the flip side of this and it's death to Arabs, somehow this is overlooked and it's not even mentioned that this is part of the component or part of the variables that are at play in this situation. Israel is an occupying force, okay? They are occupying Palestinians. They are conducting an ethnic cleansing, as I've said, and this is what it looks like in real time as people are taking to the streets to protest on behalf of this ethnic cleansing and ongoing genocide. So this is what we're dealing with right now in the situation in Israel. And so then, obviously, after the fact, they continue the bombing campaign, and we don't know what exactly the destruction and damage that has been caused by this specific bombing campaign, but we'll know more details as time goes on, and I'm sure that these are not going to be the last bombs. But I mean, the main point of me making this video is to reiterate the same point. This is an ongoing ethnic cleansing. This is a genocide of the Palestinian people. It doesn't matter if Naftali Bennett is leading the government of Israel. It doesn't matter if Benjamin Netanyahu is leading the government of Israel. The violence, the state-sanctioned violence, the terrorism, the illegal settlements, they all remain the same. The apartheid policies, they all remain the same. Nothing has changed. This is an ongoing thing that the United States is supporting. We send them billions of dollars in military aid and weapons every single year in order to wield that violence against the Palestinian people. And this is the dynamic that we have, that we are supporting. This is why it's important for U.S. commentators and everybody to be talking about this, because we are facilitating this, okay? The government of Joe Biden or the government of Donald Trump, neither of which are willing to even mildly confront the state of Israel to hold them responsible. They are still blocking an international criminal court investigation into Israeli war crimes. So, there's been absolutely no progress made, absolutely no even moderately good faith attempts by the Biden administration to hold these governments accountable for their blatant war crimes that they committed in this latest round of violence, and I'm sure will continue to commit into the future. There's no accountability as of right now. So this is just the ongoing situation. The campaign of violence that Israel is wielding against the Palestinian people seems like it's just going to continue indefinitely.